Maximum news. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Hogwarts Legacy Week, or for some people, the people who have been able to play it. I've only been able to play 3.5 hours of the sucker, and I'll give my opinions on it in a moment. But I think the more qualified person here is the person that has been able to put 30 hours into it since it released. I think that's what you said, right? Sybsidian, my co-host. How you doing, Syb? I'm sure you're probably doing great because you got to play Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah. So I mean, now the save game file says 33 hours, but I think it's closer to 60. And I don't know why, but for some reason, whenever you're in menus and whenever you're doing certain activities, it doesn't progress the time. Like I know I spent 4 hours in the custom room that you get, creating like its look, its style, like editing it out, playing with the pets, doing that's the kind of stuff. But it didn't, though the timestamp of my save file was 4 hours different, the little in-game timer there did not move more than the hours. Like it still said 24 hours when I went in, did all the stuff, came out, saved it again, still just 24 hours. So that was a couple days ago.
Are you reading it on Steam, as in the number of hours you put in so far?
Oh, that might actually be a little bit better.
Yeah.
Steam says like 55.6 hours. So.
Why is my life so chaotic right now? Okay, well, anyways, I've only gotten to, what point am I at in the game? I just finished doing my first dueling club. That's not really a spoiler. We've seen, like, that's been in the promotional materials, the dueling club. Yeah. 3.5 hours. I'm going to leave the floor to Syb. I'm very curious to hear his thoughts on it, because he, like me, has this at like his number 3 most anticipated game this year. We've both been looking forward to it. General thoughts, and then get into specific. Syb, what do you think of Hogwarts Legacy?
I think they have absolutely. So we did talk about this, give a little sort of a review on the Thursday show, but really that was still in early access at that moment, essentially. So
yeah,
having that played through it, talking a little bit more, I'm still not going to do any major spoilers. I'm going to avoid any kind of like anything that's major, obvious, large spoilers. Obviously, we know that the kid goes to Hogwarts, so I'll talk about that. So basically, this game has fulfilled a fantasy that I never thought I really had. I never was on the whole Harry Potter book train, like hardcore, like a lot of other people were that were my same age growing up when they first started to come out. I was a little bit older than I guess the intended audience at that particular moment in time, and I didn't really get too, like, I was never a die-hard fanatic. I did watch all the movies within about a week or two of them coming out, because I did enjoy I thought that the world that they had created was just marvelously well done. I do love fantasy in pretty much every form, and I really was always interested in that. But playing the game, I will tell you now that I've got a goofy, dumb smile on my face almost every time, whenever I'm playing the game, because it is this perfect feeling story, again, that I never knew that I wanted, or that I would appreciate so much. Running around, collecting some magical creatures, putting them in a bag, and then releasing them into my own like little mini perfect ecosystem to keep them safe from poachers while they're being hunted.
You can do that? Oh, that's so cool.
Probably one of the most satisfying things I've done in a while, as far as like not what you would call like combat orientated content. It, like the whole like go out and collect stuff. It's so nice going through, figuring out riddles, stories. Do I think that they could have done a deeper, more like thorough style of it, where there's way more like kind of mini games and stuff like that? Yes, but only because I'm insane. And if you're not insane, if you're not crazy, if you don't want to dedicate 1,000 hours of your life into one game, then that's obviously like too far. But as far as like being a game made for the made for a wide audience of just regular hardcore fans of the series. I think they absolutely knocked it out of the absolute bloody park, because there is no possible way that I think it could be done better for the mainstream. And that's fine, because mods will add that complexity for those people who really, 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 really do want it. And yeah, I think, and the mods are coming. Oh my goodness, we have another announcement about that today as well.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Sorry, I didn't mention that in the heads up news, but it's just an announcement about what we're doing with it, so no biggie. But yeah, we are like everybody who's played it, Ash, Moon, and I. We are so impressed with the overall quality and the depth of experience that the game has brought. It really is just fitting you into this world, allowing you to have this story, this experience. The world could be a little bit more in depth. You could give interactability to every single student in the entire Hogwarts school. You could name every single one of them. That's something that they could do. You could also give the students like daily schedules and stuff like that. So you can you could literally like creepily stalk any of them that you wanted to, but in the sense that again, that's something that they could have added, but you certainly don't need it. You certainly get enough of that in-depth feeling like you're in the world just from walking down a hallway, hearing some conversations from students here or there, and then reacting to other things that are in the world, whether they be plants or things. The only thing that's more gamified, obviously, than I think what we would normally have, like what's like canon to the lore, is the amount of random, insane, genocidal rampages you can go on. That's about the only thing where it's like children, it's bad to kill people. Well, it's a good thing I just killed 240,000 poachers who happen to be in the local area. It's that whole that whole game mechanic where it's like if the bad guys in this game all banded together, they'd actually have the majority in political numbers. Why don't they just vote in their own people instead of trying to take it by force? Because there's 12 people in this village, but there's 89 enemies that respawn around the village that I murder quite frequently. It's that kind of gaminess. But of course that's there because of the gaminess. But does it ever feel out of place? It doesn't. It feels so perfect and so well fitted and so unique and honestly just fun. And that's the biggest thing that games are for. They're there to de-stress, give you fun, and then give you something to think about at the end of the day. And this game definitely has those things in spades as far as the general overall principle of how does the game affect you as an individual. And I would say that it's super entertaining. It's super good, just smiley, happy, good. And then it's also just got a wonderful aesthetic to it that just matches it so well with the world of Hogwarts, with the world of the Wizarding world. And there's so much more that we can see out of that. And there's obviously tie-ins to the lore that are done really, I think, really, really well. There's a lot of stuff with the goblins, them talking about how, one of the reasons why they fight and why there's been a, disconnection between wizards and goblins and that kind of stuff, and their grievances and whatnot. And they cover them in a way that I think is really cool, because it's here are these issues. We're not fixing them today.
It's not just one-dimensional?
Yeah, it's not one-dimensional.
Good.
It's like and your character can agree or disagree with, stuff, but they're just a kid. They can't change this on a global scale, right? So the kid is well, I think that's unfair, and they could say that, or they can chit chat about it, and it's that's cool. That's what we want. You don't need to have be the savior of the universe and the Commander Shepard in every single game there is. You can leave room for just being a normal person in a world that's a complicated world. And I think that, again, I think they really just nailed that down perfectly. yeah, and so just overall, I would say that comparatively is probably one of the best adaptations of a world into a video game that I have ever seen. Far better than anything I have ever played, and the visuals and how they do everything from the animation to the cutscenes and how that stuff all works, and the fact that yeah, there is a handful of PC bugs, but that's super standard these days. I would love there to not be, but there definitely will be fixes for that coming out right away. I believe Nvidia's got a driver update coming for their graphics card. I believe AMD
Oh, thank
has
God.
got one coming out soon. So yeah, there are some PC issues, and again, you have that because you have an almost infinite number of PCs in the world, as far as like how they're they're spec'd slightly differently, right? Like they've got different RAM, they've got different video cards, they've got different motherboards, different processors. Weird things are going to happen like that. And one of my complaints about other reviewers is other reviewers will bring up an issue that is basically them only. One reviewer recently came out and he's like, I have this issue when I'm talking to this character. And it's like, I just looked online. Nobody else other than you is having this problem. I have a different problem with some texture stretching when it comes to trees in the distance. And again, I have not encountered that as a general problem amongst most other players. I haven't seen it replicated on one stream that I've seen. It is not a thing. So I'm not going to dock them points for that because that's not a general PC issue. If it was happening to everybody and people were memeing on it, then of course that's an issue that probably came up in testing. But there's a good chance that this particular stretching issue didn't actually come up in any of their late testing and therefore wasn't necessarily a big issue for them to be concerned about fixing, because it may have only affected 0.001% of the population.
Yeah.
But when you have like 10,000 of those errors, then you got 10% of the population that's having a, not a super smooth experience. So that's the kind of stuff that playing on opening week is obviously more difficult. Playing on the consoles tends to make these things can sometimes be sometimes be more of a problem or less of a problem, just depending on, right? So we all remember how some games in the recent past, PCs were great, consoles had a rough time, vice versa. It happens all the time. So I'm not gonna hit on them because overall, a vast majority, like 90% of people, have reported very little technical bugs. The PC is the only platform in which is having continued grouping bugs. Bugs where it's like common across a lot of players, and that's a drop in FPS during some of the cutscenes, which certainly sucks. But to be honest, the cutscenes are so good that I barely noticed for the most part. And again, for somebody who's not going to get into heavily into the game until probably a week or two down the road, so long as they keep everything updated, I suspect strongly that a lot of that stuff will go away. And if you're into modding, the mods are already coming out with fixes for some of this stuff, so they naturally have been able to bring out fixes, repairs, and alterations to the mods far beyond what most of the average players are already looking for. So that's great, because this is what we need. And I'm just pulling up the list here. There are now 5 pages of mods on the Nexus front. So that's 20 mods per page.
Yeah, I was just looking
at that.
There is
100 mods that have come out for this so far. And some of these downloads, the top rated download is currently sitting at just under 30,000 downloads for the top mod on the site.
What was that one? Was it like the FPS fix?
No, that is the actually let me just refresh. I want to make sure that I'm actually quoting like
the actual
proper
thing. Yeah.
Proper stuff here. Let's give this just under 30,000. That is the unofficial FPS hotfix for PC.
Yeah.
So that's going to fix a lot of those particular problems. So again, if you're into modding, if you want to take a chance at trying to fix some of this yourself, the community has already gone off like a lightning bolt and has fixed a large number of these things and have created a couple of really cool stuff. And this will be where I do this tiny little announcement. Mooney and I and Ash will be actually working on doing a mostly moon-centered. She's going to be taking the foreground on this modding review show. And she's already got a couple mods in her system. She's already tweaked out a couple of things.
Okay.
And she's doing some footage, putting the footage together. We will have that video out hopefully early next week. And we will continue doing an active mod show for as long as there's high quantity of mods being added. We stopped covering mods on some of the big games once they dropped down considerably, like on Cyberpunk. Mods there generally stalled out a couple of weeks, about a month and a half after it came out. And it was like, it really stalled out. Like, of course, there was all the negativity with the game and whatnot, but like it started out super, super strong, but then it just kind of like it hit a brick wall really, really quickly. But this, I don't think we're going to see a brick wall. I think we're going to see this accelerate because there's been so much in this world that's really gone off. My favorite mod so far is the Magic Gun mod. This is a mod that replaces your wand with a magical device that is based off of an 1800s historical design and bears no resemblance to any real-world counterparts of the modern era. That's the mod description. It's basically like a 9mm Beretta.
That's not the one, because I was just looking through the list. That's not the one that's like Ash's gun from Army of Darkness.
No, this is just I think this is just a general
just a gun
9mm wizarding gun. And it's so hilarious because the guy holds it like
a piece
pretty good.
Yeah.
And you just running around with this gun just firing off these spells like crazy. So there's goofy things like that. Obviously that's not, that's not more friendly.
Syb, I gotta ask, have you ever heard of Harry Potter with guns? Do you know what I'm talking about when I say that?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. It's been a meme for quite a while.
For a long time, yeah. It's the greatest thing. Anybody who's listening to this, if you've never heard of Harry Potter with guns, look it up on YouTube. Somebody took Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, the movie, and replaced all the wands with guns.
That's the one I've seen,
So when in the movie, when Hermione goes uses her petrification spell on Neville, she pulls out a piece and shoots him.
It's
so
I
great.
mean, it's honestly hilarious and great, right?
Yeah.
Some of the other stuff, there's some other cool mods in here. If you find the stone flu lady talks too much, which when I was doing a couple of parts, I always play as stealthy as I can. I was doing some stealthy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, good. Yes, I'm stealthing through here silently. Suddenly the flu lady behind me is like, oh, you wouldn't imagine how difficult travel was before I invented a flu powder. I'm like, heart attack, it's under control.
Get ready, I'm about to uninvent you, bitch. Yeah, I actually had the same reaction.
There's things like that. My favorite one, for not me, but for other people, and they do this, almost every game has this. So that there's people who have arachnophobia.
Yeah.
That's the fear of spiders, like really bad, like really genuinely bad. They have like horrible, it's an actual like uncontrollable fear.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out somebody has kindly gone and replaced all the spider models with large red blocks.
Aww.
So if you don't like that, they are now replaced with large red blocks. In Skyrim, they replaced them with bears, which was absolutely hilarious because you'd see the bears crawling on the wall backwards and or upside down. So it was always like terrifying if you were afraid of bears. But in this, they've already come out with that. So expect that. We're going to be covering mods pretty closely.
I wonder if anybody has an irrational fear of bears. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Can't watch the Berenstein Bears without getting triggered.
Probably some. There's a one particular type of bear that had like opposable thumbs, and they basically kept a part of the world from being like inhabited by humans for like 20,000 years because they liked hunting people and they were pretty brutal. So really messed up. But there's some pretty cool mods out there, some pretty cool stuff out there. I think overall, this game is here to stay for probably a really long time.
Please,
honestly.
yeah.
I think this is absolutely going to be one of the best games of this year, probably going forward. I suspect, again, the amount of mods coming to this game, they're great. You can there's mods to add facial hair to young male students, so you can look a lot older than you currently do. There's all kinds of additional things coming out for it, and we're just really excited to see a game that is got this much promise, that actually shows up, didn't super hype it. It was just, hey, we made a game and it's really good. And it's so nice to have that. And hearing some rumors, this is where we'll get into a little bit of a rumor mill very quick.
Quidditch DLC?
We're getting a Quidditch DLC.
Yes!
There is talk about there's talk going on, and I've heard from a source that they're saying that the reception has been so positive that they're thinking about doing like a 10-year plan with this game.
That's what I'm talking about.
Because like you've got, I mean, we're in the 5th year. You got 7 years in total. Most students, when they finish their 10th year, they're 18 years old. So there's a lot of different things and directions you could do. Seriously, you could have, the next school year, you could do the next 2 school years over the course of the next 5 years.
Oh yeah, big
just
time.
Constantly, like you put one school year out every 2 years, and then you could just do more content around it. You could introduce a new character who starts at as a kid, as a literally young kid going in for the first year. I believe they're about 10 to 11 typically when they're around that age when they show up the first time. And if you could do that, there is so much content there, and they could really just keep building off this. So apparently there's a lot of discussions going on. They're super happy, super thrilled with the reception. Despite the haters out there, the game has done incredibly successfully and has done really, really well, and I think is lining up a lot of really cool potential future things. And I think that's great because
the world of Harry Potter is just one of the richest worlds that has yet to be exploited for all its potential. It's just focused on Harry Potter, and they did the Fantastic Beasts series, but that wasn't that well received. Now it seems to be in very capable hands, and I hope to God that we do get that 10-year plan, because the stuff that I have played, the 3.5 hours that I did, it basically just everything that you said, Saib, I echo all your sentiments. It's absolutely magical. Much of the time that I've spent has just been wandering around the castle and not really completing the quests that have been assigned to me, just because every time you open a door, it's like you enter a completely new world. Just you don't know what to expect. And everything is so ornate and so unique and full of whimsy. It's so hard to take all of it in. Like everywhere you look, you're just stunned by what you're looking at. I think one of my favorite moments that I've had in gaming in the last little while was when you first venture outside the castle and you're just going down this little path, and then you look behind you and you see the whole of Hogwarts, and you just get a sense of just how big this castle really is. And it's just like, my God, I'm here. And there's so much more that's going to be ahead of me. I'm going to be able to do all these other classes I haven't done yet. I'm going to be able to get my broom. I'm going to get my hippogriff. I got to get to the Forbidden Woods, or the Forbidden Forest, whatever the exact name of it is. I get to go to Hogsmeade, spend a whole bunch of time there, and explore the surrounding area. I cannot wait until I have time to play the rest of this game. And to your point about mods, I'm going to say this right now. If somebody creates a mod where you can fly a dragon and make it breathe fire, and then I can go up to one of my teachers if they give me a bad grade and incinerate them, easily greatest game of all time ever made. Somebody please get on that and make that happen. That would be so cool. Yeah, I'm sadistic when it comes to my games. What can I say? But yeah, hopefully I'll be able to find more time to play that. I will just say one very quick thing about the PC performance. I've been playing it on Steam, and I actually have been having quite a few issues. I have looked up a whole bunch of different recommendations and tried them. And while some of them have helped a little bit, it is still getting in the way. Like, I have changed my DLSS settings. I brought down all like the settings from ultra to high and then high to medium. And it's helped a little bit, but, at the cost of quality. But like you said,
turn off ray tracing. That was one thing that Moon's been having an issue with.
Oh yeah, I've had it off the entire time. Yeah.
And again, there is of course some issues, and those
be
issues
fixed.
Obviously, like, I hate to say it, but I really don't think there's a way around it, like, going forward. Like, all games used to have their various glitches. Like, people go, oh, remember when games came out and they were perfect? Yeah, you remember I remember one of the earliest games I ever played coming out, and there was a bug in the game that you could exploit to get, like, infinite everything you wanted. And
are you talking about Oblivion?
Sorry. No, it was a really old DOS game, really old DOS game. And then there were other games. I remember one of the early Sherlock Holmes games that we played. One of the quests were broken and the game was unfinishable. And that's just how you received the game. Yeah. You received a game that was essentially unfinishable, and they had to do another post-release that had the fix to allow you to finish the game. So yes, of course, there's issues like that, and we don't want them to be there. But I don't think that in this time and age, I don't think that that's something that's feasible anymore. And that sucks, obviously.
Yeah, you gotta
that you have to deal with that playing the game that you wanted to play.
You got to take into consideration the game as a package. On the whole, despite, and it's not glitches side, it's more so just the frame rate. It constantly drops for me, and it is kind of distracting. But I will say as well that this goes for everybody else. I think you have to take the whole package. You gotta not just focus on that one thing and exacerbate it. On the whole, Hogwarts Legacy it lives up to the hype. It lives up to all the expectations, as far as I can tell, for both Syb and I. And I really can't wait to get back to playing it. It's going to be difficult this week, though, because I got a lot of stuff going on. But maybe I'll find some time. Anyways, we do have to move on. We've been on this subject for nearly half an hour. I'm really, thank you for sharing a very detailed analysis of your experience, Syb. What do you guys think? Have you been playing Hogwarts Legacy? Are there any criticisms that you had that maybe Syb and I didn't mention in our glowing reactions? Please let us know in the comment section below. Obviously, do it politely. Or just tell us about your experience with the game. We'd love to hear those too. All right. I just noticed, Syb, that this looks like a rarity. I think last week we had a good selection of just positive news, and today we just have a really good selection of positive news. 2023 is looking up. Next subject, obviously I got to talk about The Last of Us. We've been doing that the last 4 weeks that we've been doing this show, the HBO series. Obviously, episode 5 came out on Friday to get ahead of Super Bowl Sunday. Yeah, everybody. We're not the type of people that really care about sports. That's, in case you didn't get that, we care about games.
Yeah. No, yep. I was out at dinner with my older brother tonight, and we were sitting around and going, "Oh yeah, I guess that Super Bowl thing is on." Mm-hmm. Right, yeah, Super Bowl thing.
I only care about the Super Bowl as far as like all the movie trailers that come out. Like, I saw the one for The Flash that came out a few hours ago. Movie looks dope. I mean, screw Ezra Miller, but aside from that, everything else looks dope. But yeah, very quickly before I give my just very quick thoughts on the episode, Syb, have you had a chance to watch it yet?
No, I've been doing this thing called Hogwarts. Yeah. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just keep rubbing it in my face. The Last of Us episode 5. It's the same as it has been the last 4 weeks. We are very blessed with the show. The episode 5 was excellent, as it has always been. We are halfway through this series right now, and Syb, I have yet to really see anything in any episode that I could say that I actively disliked. It's a miracle, this show, just like Hogwarts is a miracle for gaming. It's a good time to be alive and be a gamer. this episode, obviously, if any of you have been following the game, focuses solely on the characters of Henry and Sam. And we all know what that means to anybody who has ever played the game. And yes, they handle the story of Henry and Sam in this show exactly as they should have. It adds things in all the places that it could add to make the characters of Henry and Sam even more interesting and likable than they already were, and make the emotional moments with them at the same, if not even greater levels. It was wonderful, and I gotta make a confession. I've never cried in an episode of TV in my entire life, but at the end of this episode, something happens, and I think, anybody who knows the story of Henry and Sam knows what I'm talking about. Something happens that made me break down. It was wonderfully done, and man, it's so special, guys.
How on earth did you not watch Charlotte's Web growing up?
Oh, I did.
Oh, you're just a monster then. I get it.
Yeah.
I understand.
Dude, it's
spiders
dog
doing a job.
What about The Lion King? I watched The Lion King like 89 times. Not one of them did I ever cry. See, that's the thing with me. When it's very, very specific things that come out of nowhere that make me cry at stuff. Even when, like, the story of Henry and Sam, when we experienced it in the game, that didn't get me. It's just the way that it happened in this episode, the way that it was done. Oh, I can't even think about it. I'm getting goosebumps right now. You guys can't see, obviously, but yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah. Aside, you really need to get on this, man, when you get a second. Anyways, that's my thoughts. Just very quickly, like, there's nothing I can really say beyond that without spoiling it. I want you guys to go watch it for yourself. Although, one very quick thing. I just realized after I said there's nothing that I actively disliked. There is one thing that could have been done better that I'll just allude to very quickly. In episode 4 and 5, there is a certain female character, and you guys will probably know who I'm referring to. It's not Ellie, but the other main female character. I think she's the only one. She was miscast. Like, she's doing her best, but I suppose maybe it's just because everything else about The Last of Us is going on is so great that the lesser elements do stand out. It's not that her performance is bad. It's just like you feel they could have gotten a better actress to convey the emotions that she's going through and the drama that she's going through. Yeah, that's just one thing, but it's a nitpick. Everything else around it is splendid. Guys, have you had a chance to watch episode 5 yet, or have you just been watching the Super Bowl, leading up to Super Bowl Sunday? Let us know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, positive story number 3, Syb. We're going to have to praise Nintendo today. Did you expect that to happen? So, we give, especially Syb does, we give them righteous crap for some of their business policies, particularly their unwillingness to make a lot of their older games available legally for people to play. But this past week, they have made a series of announcements that we really got to give them kudos for. We will get to the Nintendo Direct, and those are some of the announcements. But before that, I got to give the people over at, the management over at Nintendo some kudos for giving raises to their employees, despite the fact that in this past year, they've made lower profits, obviously because in the past year, COVID hit Japan harder than it had the rest of the world, So, but despite that, they are giving the majority of their employees raises just so they can retain them. Plus, the CEOs, including Shigeru Miyamoto, are taking pay cuts. I think one of them announced that they're taking a 50% pay cut. That's leadership. That's caring about your employees. That's something that we rarely ever hear about when it comes to gaming media. So I want to give a proper salute to those guys over there. At least in that respect, you're doing things well. And now for the Nintendo Direct. I just said a second ago, Syb. Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to save that. I'm going to save that as sort of like one of the big announcements that came out of the Nintendo Direct this past week. I'm just going to give a shout out to some of the smaller things in my mind. Pikmin 4 finally got a release date. A new game finally coming out, about a decade later. I'm glad for people that enjoyed those games. People have been supporting that franchise ever since the GameCube came out. Plus, there's a little game that was announced during Nintendo Direct called Sea of Stars. It's very much in the vein of Chrono Trigger, what else? Xenogears, those types of games. And it's more than just a coincidence. They actually got the guy who scored those original games with all their beautiful music to do some songs for Sea of Stars. It just stood out to me. It's something that I actually might want to check out just because I've really been into those types of retro games. But now, the big announcements. Syb, as I alluded to before, you and I, but especially you, have been antagonistic towards Nintendo for not making their older games more legally available. Well, they have taken a step in the right direction with the following announcement from the Nintendo Direct. They are now making Game Boy games and Game Boy Advance games playable on the Switch. So now you don't necessarily have to, go the emulation route. If you're particularly paranoid about the legality of emulation, you can play them on your Switch. Now, you can't play all the games just yet. Some of them, there will be a variety of them coming. This was, and I want to get your thoughts on this in just a second, Syb, but this was significant to me because one of my all-time favorite games is Pokemon Crystal. I have wanted to go back to the Pokemon franchise for over a decade, but it's just, for whatever reason, it hasn't been possible for me. But if they make the old Game Boy and Game Boy Advance Pokemon games available, what that will allow me to do by playing it on the Switch instead of emulating it is I can play the games on there and then build my Pokedex all the way from the first generation onwards so I can complete it and reinvigorate myself within the Pokemon franchise. That would be really cool. You can't do that through emulation, but you can do it through an official Switch console. Can't do it just yet, but I imagine because they have made this possible, that will become a possibility. Syb, I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this.
It's definitely a start going in the right direction. But until they embrace the wide range of platforms that are available to them, because there is a wide range. It's not just PC with Steam. It's literally everything. There are hundreds of different kinds of mobile devices and tablet devices that they could definitely play on. And again, by creating something on these things, you can still sell a controller like that. And that's the thing that's always kind of gutted me, is that it's so weird that they never thought about slapping the games inside a physical controller, and then putting that controller, essentially just plugging it into a variety of devices that you have, and then allowing you to play the games in that way. You could certainly do that for all Nintendo 1 and 2 titles. Yeah, that's just so easy to do. And again, they have made moves, and we're starting to see them finally make more moves, which is good. And hopefully they'll get the signal that this is a good thing and that they should do more. So yeah, let's hope they're finally moving in the right direction and they have the wherewithal to kind of like follow it through and not just stick with one aspect of it, but really just branch out and cover every possible nook and cranny that they can, to really fill in the options available to their players, because that's a huge thing. And I really think that they have a couple of big options available to them, especially in a lot of poorer countries. They could really be putting out content basically for free that would stem and help encourage creativity and young people's interest in technology. And I think that is a direction that I think we really should be going as a human race, because automation's coming. It's arguable whether it's good or not, but it is coming. So yeah, exactly what we can do with that in response to that keys into things starting as early from children playing games in a in as part of their education.
Yeah.
That is actually important. And is that a good time to segue into the other story that we have?
No, there are two. Unfortunately, there are two other main things that we really do need to talk about from this
Then
trip.
in that case, let's move on to I think it's the Zelda one?
Yeah. So they released a new trailer for The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. I didn't think it was possible to get me any more hyped for this game than when they released the original trailer, where they showed like the verticality of the world above and the world below. But my God, Sib, this trailer really, the way they shot it, like the places where Link would be standing in the world, so that we can really get an appreciation for just how big everything is. This game makes, I'm being slightly facetious when I say this, but not really. It makes the size of the Just Cause games look puny in comparison. I know they're probably smaller, but when you see it in the trailer, you are just taken aback by how big it is. Just God, how are they going to fill this huge world with all these types of side quests and make them in such a way that they don't get boring? Well, I mean, I guess they did do that with Breath of the Wild, granted, but when you add, like, you can go into the sky and then you can skydive down to the ground, and then you can, like, there's this flying machine, it looks like. My God, I need to play Breath of the Wild, because if I play Tears of the Kingdom before that, it's going to retroactively ruin that experience. But it's going to be tempting, man. Holy crap, this game looks good. What did you think, Seb?
So I did not have nearly the
positive reaction.
Shall we say? My reaction was a little bit negative. Now, I don't know if this is a hot take, so I'll say it again here. I feel like they are behind their competitors, and I feel that they didn't introduce enough things that are standard today.
Okay.
In the genre of this kind of game.
Like what?
So the competitor to this kind of game obviously is Genshin Impact right from the get-go. And
yeah,
you if you go to not that I do this often, but theoretically, if you were to go to a school playground and poll the kids about what they're more excited, the latest Genshin Impact content package coming out and the new Zelda game, I feel the vast majority of them would probably say would probably say Genshin Impact, and most of them would say, what's Zelda?
Really?
I think that's honestly probably the way it would go right now, because the Nintendo has let this lax a little bit too much. So first of all, they haven't introduced enough games, and they've not made those widely accessible. So they're starting to lose their grasp on that. So when it comes to this game that they got coming out, I expected them to introduce a ton of new characters, because that is the thing that all of the Zelda competitors have. And it's not in a small way like, oh yeah, this is just a side offering that is moderately appreciated by the fans. No. This is hugely desired by everybody who plays these kinds of games, is to have either a character creator or to have a list of well-known characters from the lore. Take any one of the top 10, kind of like same age as Link characters that's been in the past couple of games. If you were to make them a fully fleshed out playable character, that would be really cool, and you would immediately broaden your audience by a significant margin.
Sure.
And there's a lot of interest in those characters. There's a lot of interest to play more content in Zelda as Zelda, which is, again, I don't know why they haven't done this. And Now, obviously, not every game is like this. Not every game, you don't need to always do whatever your competitors are doing. But in this case, I really do believe that this is something that they should have looked into, because they do have a wide plethora of long-term standing characters within the world of Zelda that would make amazing, good content, additional content for players who are not necessarily wanting to play the same thing, especially if you were put it into a narrative stance so that you could play parts of the games as whatever character you wanted to. So you could play the games from beginning to end as Zelda, or as Link. I really think those two things are probably best. Maybe more Zelda, or sorry, more Link than Zelda. Maybe just having Zelda be like sections or partial bits of it. And then you could have all these like split stories where, you know, you go do something in the water thing. So you take that cute little water character and you go do that with her, or you could do it with Zelda or Link or whatever. It's like, I was kind of thinking that they would be smart enough to do something like that, because they have been losing against Genshin significantly since it came out. And not that I think Genshin is a perfect game. I don't. There's some obviously glaring major problems with it, but they're being really slow to do things that are now fairly standard within it. We've got Blue Protocol coming out. We've got, you know, Tower Fantasy came out. We've got a couple other games coming out that have the same, like, it's very similar art style, and even combat is really, really honestly very similar. And they have all these things coming out, and each of those games offers a wide plethora of characters that people can connect to. And they don't have that here. And I feel, maybe incorrectly, that they're losing their ability to compete because they're going about it from the same idea that they were like 20 years ago. And again, that's not, every game doesn't need to evolve like that. But in this particular case, it's kind of a no-brainer to me to go, there's a huge selection. I mean, Link comes from a village full of other people just like him. And there is some debate, Ash was mentioning this, how there's a debate that every Link is actually a different Link, and every Zelda is a different Zelda, and that's how that story goes. But to me, it's like, there's a wide world here that they could really evolve on and really morph and like do a bunch of cool things with, and really open up the universe to like have a whole bunch of this extra stuff. But they really don't have that anymore.
Sure.
Or they don't have they haven't been keeping up with the ability to like keep up with that as a demand, because and again, lots of people are really looking forward to this. They're really trying to push in the direction of, hey, we want to try something new. We want to have something new for this. And it makes sense in Zelda because, again, the characters have been long standing. They've been there for a really long time. People like cosplaying as them generally. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I think that's fine, dude. Like, not every open world game is going to appeal to people. Like, for you and I don't think the newer Assassin's Creed games appeal to us. But there are people that I deeply respect their opinions that genuinely love games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Odyssey and stuff like that. I can see where you're coming from about how those elements not being included in a Zelda game would turn you off. But for myself, keeping Link silent and not really being able to play the other characters hasn't really lessened my enthusiasm for the games. Now, there could be a point where in the future, if I play a whole bunch of Zelda games, that I would desire the same things that you do, but clearly for myself and millions of other fans, that hasn't gotten there yet. It might be the case, though, soon in the future that games like Genshin Impact, although from what I understand, Genshin Impact kind of took Breath of the Wild's gameplay. I might be wrong about that, but they might replace it because it does offer those alternatives. But, nothing wrong with your perspective. And then finally, Metroid Prime Remastered. Make more shadow drops. This was clearly, to me, at least, and a whole bunch of other people, this was the biggest announcement from Nintendo Direct. And the fact that they made it available the same day. And the remaster side, I don't know if you've seen the graphics comparisons, but it's Chef's kiss. Oh my god. And I forgot, just watching that trailer, how great the music for that game was, Metroid Prime. There's a reason why, like, Metroid Prime 4 is being made all these years later, guys. It's because that first game was so great, and all the changes that they make to the remastered version are wonderful. It makes it look like Nintendo Doom, like the new Doom games, like post 2016. It looks gorgeous. Side, what did you ever play the original Metroid Prime? And what did you think of the trailer?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, Metroid is one of my old favorites. I played the first game because like first Nintendo era,
Yeah,
and I really liked it. But I did not play the later games that came out, years out, almost a decade after, because I just didn't have access to those consoles at the
yeah.
time, because the whole console war thing. But just generally speaking, I loved it, and one of the I distinctly remember like the Samus reveal in the first game when you beat it, and then I remember discussions whilst being on the school bus about people who were absolutely confused as to why
That was a girl.
there was a girl at the end in this huge body armor, and they were so the one guy's like, no man, I think it's just, it doesn't look like, maybe it doesn't look, maybe it's not a girl, because I didn't get a good look at it, at her, at him, and Sam, it's Sam's a boy, and they couldn't really deal with the concept of Sam
The
being
possibility of a woman kicking ass.
yeah. So and to me that obviously was kind of hilarious, and it also really stuck with me for a really long time as far as character design went, and what it what potential there is when you do it right. And so yeah, so I'm excited for this. I think that it's good. I hope that they bring it to as many platforms as they can, because people
Right.
have moved on from having a Nintendo plugged into their TV. I hate to say it, but this is the way. It's just the way things are these days.
Well, if I could get I mean, I do own a Switch, so I can legally emulate it if I buy Metroid Prime Remastered. I just hope at some point, the Switch emulators can be a little bit more consistent with their quality, so that way I can emulate some of the newer games on there. But yeah, I'm very curious to check it out. Anyways, very quickly, wanted to end on this one story about a study. Side, do you want to tell people about it?
Yeah. So this is another bit of positive news. I'm just checking to make sure that there's nothing new on it. This is from the University of Houston, Texas, and this confirms that if you ever wondered, do video games melt your kids' brains? The answer is, as a majority, no, they don't.
Mhm.
No, they really don't. Actually, it doesn't matter how long your kids play video games or what types they choose. There is no detrimental effect to them. I think the detrimental effects obviously come in from personal control, personal behavior issues, like those kinds of things. I would certainly say there is some degree in that, but that's hyper individualistic. Whereas when they're judging based off of actual brain scans and cognitive tests and stuff like that, there was no loss in overall performance, and there was a peak in most performance measures. So this again, if you think you're wasting time playing video games as a general hobby, you're not. It is a healthy thing to have your mind constantly challenged with new puzzles.
Yeah.
And there is no negative effect. I would be very interested to see how this same exact study, if they could replicate the same exact study, would function with general content, like just general television show content. That would be something I would be curious to see, as well as checking out a couple other things. But of course, this means that you need to prioritize balance in a child's life. They do talk about productive activities such as homework, chores. Chores are actually really good for kids.
Yep.
Teaches them a lot of really important factors. I believe that chores are chores go beyond just cleaning. I think there's a huge wisdom in teaching your kids how to cook, like right from like a very young age. Like
Yes.
teaching them how to boil water, how to make pasta, how to mix pasta with your sauce, how to do meat, how to do all that kind of stuff. I think by the time a kid's 10, they should be able to do basically any of those kinds of recipes by themselves. But yeah, this is just a general. Excuse me, I'm dying here. Apparently,
You're gonna make it, side. You're a soldier. Live.
Excuse me. But yeah, just in general, this confirms that video games do not destroy a kid's brain.
Well, I mean, maybe if they played FIFA and that was the only game they played, that might destroy their brains.
I think there are some games because they did do a mix of video games, and I think there's obviously bad games out there.
Loot box filled games like Fortnite
that will help to build negative stuff, but as a general
rule,
as a general thing, and one of the games they did test was basic like sports games, so playing soccer or FIFA type stuff, or playing like challenging stuff. The hours per day were between 2.5 to 4.5.
Uh-huh.
So that's pretty heavy for a child who's going to school and doing other things throughout the day. Obviously, I don't think that means you should pull your kid out and have them do 12 hours to 6 to 18 hours of video games a day. I don't think that's healthy for them. But this goes to show that things in moderation, video gaming in general in moderation, do not cause any nonverbal or spatial, verbal or quantitative loss in skills. None of that stuff is negatively impacted.
And that's something that you and I knew, and most gamers know. But it's good to reiterate this stuff again and again until the majority of the people that are stricken by moral panic get the message.
Oh, people with a moral panic.
People with an agenda. Oh, yeah.
Don't you just love people, hypocrites who are, yes. I'll say this story because this is common enough that I think it's happened on multiple levels. It's the parent who brings their 9-year-old in to play whatever video game he wants, and he picks out like Grand Theft Auto. He goes home, he plugs it in, she watches him hire a hooker and then kill her and
get
steal
the money back.
From her.
Yeah.
And she asks, why did you just do that? And he goes, she did. She don't need that money. She did. It's like, yeah, there's reasons why that some kids shouldn't be playing certain violent video games and stuff like that. As a general rule, I don't think that's a universal rule across the board, but I think as a general, like, you need to know what your kid is capable of. You need to know what they need, and you need to really pair up certain things with them. I cannot reinforce the benefit of like puzzle solving games for kids, because it teaches them how to think outside the box. Those are so healthy, but I don't think they need to necessarily play Doom. Like it's a puzzle in and of itself. Yes, that's true, but maybe focus on some more better games, Stardew Valley, stuff like that. Those have lessons to teach. One of the biggest things that I remember growing up, one of my biggest educators was SimCity. SimCity was huge for teaching me how to manage things, how to prioritize stuff, how to look for symmetry in things, and have basic understanding of design principles. It's like that was huge back in the day. So I a source of positive news. If the next time you're at your family dinner and Uncle Joe goes, "Those video games rotten kids' brains," you can say, well, the University of Houston disagrees when used within reasonable hours. Moderation. There's absolutely no damage to overall verbal, spatial,
anything like that.
Anything like that. It doesn't have an overall negative effect. We know
All
that
right.
they have positive
So-
effects based on different things, but that's it.
Yeah, my recommendation to, if you want your kid to grow up to be a genius, get them to play the Talos Principle. Not only is that game great for puzzle solving, but it's also one of the most profound stories in the history of games. Check it out. Also one of the most underrated. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for this episode of Maximum News. Really, really happy, really positive episode today. I had a great time recording it. I want to thank Syb, as always, for doing the show with me, for providing his great insight. Syb, do you want to tell people about the main channel real quick?
Yeah, check out the Triple S League, where we have a whole bunch of stuff. We are going to be redoing our official the three reviews that we do from Mooney, Ash, and myself. We'll be redoing them for just when we finish the game for Hogwarts. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for Mooney's official mod review show. We haven't come up with we're not quite set on a full story for it yet, but we've got a whole bunch of unique stuff coming for this. We're really loving the game, and I think we've got some great content going forward. So
nice.
Tune in, support us, because we gotta fight the haters.
Yeah. Maybe suggest a name for the show in the comment section below. And you guys can find me just at my main channel, just at Max Derrat. I'll put a link to that and the Triple S League channel in the description box below. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out. Stay yellow. Bye-bye.